Hello, welcome to my living room and say hello to my blanket tower. This is about 2/3 probably of the blankets I currently have, and I think all of them I made last year. I went through a crazy phase of making crochet blankets. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is actually about addressing some of the assumptions you guys have about me, which is a type of video that I've seen going around YouTube, and I thought it'd be really interesting to see and find out what you guys have made assumptions about me, because obviously when I'm on camera I'm slightly different from who I really am, and yeah, it'd be interesting to find out how you guys perceive my online persona. Hello, this is editing future me. This is a really long video and it's just me, so you can totally do something else, clean the house, do painting, whatever, and just have me in the background, because it's just my face for a very long time. So let's get started. I asked them questions both on Instagram and Patreon, so thank you so much for all your assumptions. Okay, first assumption is, I assume you're a brilliant company on a hike. Definitely no. I am the worst person to go hiking with, because a lot of the time when I'm struggling physically, whether that's pain or through hiking a tough trail, the way I process that is by vocalizing it. So I spend a lot of my time during hiking going, oh my god, it's so hard, it's too much, blah blah blah. And I have no idea how my husband copes with me whinging all the way, and I always apologize when we get to the top of a hill or mountain. I'm sorry for whinging so much, and he's always incredibly kind. He understands that that's how I process things. So I do have a rule that I won't go hiking with anyone but my husband, because my husband is kind enough to put up with it. However, I think for anybody else, it would be super annoying. I get annoyed at how much I whinge while I hike, so I can only imagine how annoying that would be for other people. So no, I am terrible company for hiking. Don't ever go hiking with me, okay? Next one is that you are very kind. All of your videos just spread sweetness. I'm sure your many more things too. That's very kind. It's hard to know whether you're kind enough or not kind enough, and I certainly feel incredibly selfish at times, especially when it comes to spending time helping other people, because I have my plate's full, both with dealing with bipolar mainly, as well as running this business. I feel I don't have enough reserve in me to be able to help people, and when I talk about mental health issues that I'm struggling, I'm really glad that it helps other people, and that's why I talk about it online. However, that encourages a lot of people to get in touch with me and share their experience and wanting me to support them, and unfortunately I really don't have that reserve to be able to help people, because I'm struggling too much with my own depression and mania, as well as a whole host of other issues that I'm dealing with, and I always feel terrible as a person for not being able to support these people. Yeah, I just feel really bad, and therefore I don't feel I'm kind enough for my liking. I wish I could do more to help people, but I also have to acknowledge that I don't have any energy left after dealing with my own life, and I think it would be worse if I tried to pretend to help people and then not have the energy to be there when they really need me. So I'm quite upfront and honest when people come to me. I don't offer personal support, because I know I will fail at it quite badly. Next assumption is that you have spent time in Germany. Yes and no. I've traveled a lot around Europe, but I've spent surprisingly little time around Germany. The only time I've actually spent any time in Germany was maybe 24 hours, And that was when my husband and I was traveling the world, and as part of that traveling, and we love doing train journeys, so we took a journey, started from Portugal and went through Spain and through Italy and all the way through Austria, Germany, Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, all those kind of countries, all by train. And one of the highlight of that journey, the one that we were really looking forward to, was the journey that takes you, I think, from Hamburg to Denmark. I think it's Copenhagen, I may be wrong, but it is one where the whole train goes onto a ferry, and we really, really wanted to go on that. So that's how we ended up in Hamburg. And I think we spent a night there because we took a train from Salzburg to Hamburg, spent a night there, and then got the train the following day for the cool train on the ferry thing. So that's the only amount of time I've spent. I've spent so much time in countries like Spain and France and Italy and Denmark and Netherlands and Austria. I've spent multiple weeks minimum on those countries, but for some reason I haven't had the chance to go to Germany and spend that much time in Germany. I hope that changes soon. By the way, I'm terribly sorry about the car noises. This is the front of the house and it has lots of traffic going past, so please bear with me. I just thought it'd be nice to have a break from the studio and come into a different room. Next assumption is that you are a quiet person. It depends on the definition of quiet, I think. I am definitely vocal and loud when I feel comfortable in the company. However, when I don't feel comfortable in the company, I am very quiet. And there are very few people that I feel comfortable being myself around. So I think I would come across to other people as being quiet. I also love having a lot of time on my own, and my husband and I have a code where if we've been socializing, then I need to decon, is the word that I use, decompression, so that I just need to spend time on my own, either crocheting or watching videos, even if it's just for half an hour before we can start interacting again, because just so that I can calm down and calm my nerves down and just let go of all this social anxiety that I experience when I'm with other people. Next assumption is that I am short. I think that depends on the definition of short, because I am 5'4" or 164 or 5 centimeters. And it depends on the company whether I'm short or tall, because I'm tall in Japan, which is where I was born in. So by birth, I'm quite tall. I think 5'4" is the average or the low end of the average height for women in the UK, which is where I live. When I go to countries like Denmark and Norway, those Nordic Scandinavian countries, I do feel incredibly short because people there are very, very tall on average. So yeah, it just depends on, I don't necessarily feel like I'm a midget, but I do have proportionately shorter legs than somebody my height, so I do have to buy in the petite range for trousers so that the trousers aren't too long on my legs. Next assumption is that you enjoy planning and preparing for projects, maybe more than art. Yeah, I think I'm a planner and organizer by nature first, and I am an artist second. In fact, I think I am organizer first, paint explorer second, and then painter. The painting is secondary for me to finding and discovering and testing new paints. I think especially in watercolour, there are so many different watercolours to experience that I'm just hooked on the exploring of those things, probably more than creating paintings myself. And I get so many comments complaining that I don't paint enough on my channel and that I don't do enough painting tutorials on my channel. And my feeling is, A, there are so many other YouTube channels that do painting tutorials, great painting tutorials, and there's no way I can beat those. And nor do I really want to beat those. And there are those plenty of resources. I started this channel because I saw a gap in what was available on YouTube at the time, on what I could find on watercolors, is that there weren't that many really detailed, test orientated channel about watercolor paints. And that was what I was struggling with as a beginner, was figuring out what paint should I buy, how do I know how something, a certain color behaves in such way or not, how can I gain the information to make the decision to whether buy a certain color or not. That's why I started this channel, and so I'm kind of sticking to that gun. Next assumption is talented. That's really difficult to judge for myself. I like the ideas that I come out with for painting, both in acrylic and watercolor. For those of you who don't know, I started off painting acrylic and then I moved on to watercolors through practical reasons, in that canvases take up a lot of space and we live in a very small flat, so it fills up very fast. So I had to move on to paper-based medium. And yes, you can paint acrylic on water. What am I talking about? Water on paper. However, it's not the same for me. If I'm painting acrylic, I want to paint on big, gigantic, at least 1 meter by 1 meter kind of size canvas, and not on paper. So that's why I moved on to doing watercolor. But I do enjoy the paintings. This is one of my watercolor. You can't really see it all the way to the top. I'll put a better video up later. This is this is watercolor, and I also can see a painting that I've done in acrylic, and I love both of them. Whether you liking your own work is talented or not, I don't know. But I don't really care whether I am talented or not. As long as I'm enjoying the art that I'm creating, then that's all I'm going to ask of my own creativity. Next one is color freak. Yes, that is a very correct assumption to make. Next one is, you went to uni and did an academic subject, science, maths, humanities. Yes, I did go. I spent 12 very long years at universities, various universities. I've been to 3 different universities. I've been to University College of London, Queen Mary University of London, and then UCLan. So that's 12 years and 3 degrees. And they're all in computer science related topics. My bachelor's is in computer science. My master's is in human computer interaction. And then my PhD is also in human computer interaction. I loved human computer interaction so much. I still do. It's all about usability and how to make things like software easier to use. And my husband and I have really long discussions about how badly things are designed, because we met in the same research group. So he has a human computer interaction background as well. We are like 2 old ladies complaining about how the world is just so bad when it comes to usability. Next assumption is, you hated watercolor the first time you tried it. I didn't hate watercolor the first time I tried it. However, I have to admit that at the time it was the second best option. I was in love with acrylic, but obviously space-wise I couldn't do acrylic the way I wanted to, and watercolor was more practical. However, I spent 1 month painting, is it 300 watercolor paintings? Yeah, 300 watercolor pieces. I wouldn't call them paintings, they were just exercise and scribbles, but I spent 30 days doing 10 scraps of painting a day, just so that I can really get to know watercolor. And when I did that, I totally fell in love with watercolor. I will now say that as much as I miss doing acrylic, watercolour is definitely my main love because it's just so beautiful, and there are so many different kinds of watercolour that you can try, and you don't have that with acrylic. You know, you don't have hundreds and hundreds of colours by lots of different brands and it behaves completely differently to each other. You don't get that. So definitely my curiosity side of me is addicted to watercolour, and I also love the luminosity and the layering, and yeah, so definitely wasn't a hate at first, but definitely wasn't love at first sight, but I totally fell in love with it as I got to know the medium. Next assumption is you are great at colour mixing. I think I'm good at colour mixing in that I have a very logically laid out watercolor palette, and therefore it makes it very easy to do the color mixing. I have a very clear 5 steps into doing color mixing. I'm pondering about creating a Skillshare course on those 5 steps. If you're interested in it, do let me know in the comments down below. Next one, you love swatching colors. Yeah, totally. I absolutely love swatching colours. I kind of prefer it and enjoy it more than painting itself. Swatching, I think for me, is incredibly satisfying. And I'm sorry about the light. It's a cloudy day with a bit of sun, so the light keeps changing. What was I talking about? Colour mixing. No, swatching. And yeah, I find swatching incredibly satisfying because you get to enjoy colour, but you don't have to worry about, is it right, is it wrong, am I doing a good job of it? You just swatch, and so I do find it very, very therapeutic. Next one is that you're super rich but very generous. This one is not an assumption, the very generous bit. I really, really wish I was super rich, but I'm not. Mid of last year was the first time this business of running YouTube and a Patreon actually paid for itself. And when you look at my Patreon amount, you see a very decent amount, and I'm incredibly grateful for them. So you'd be wondering, well, what are you talking about? You got loads of money coming in. The problem is I tend to plow all the profits back into the channel by buying more watercolors so that I can create really interesting series for you, like the Primatech series 2nd season that we've got going on at the moment. The money for those paints have come straight from Patreon, so I'm able to run this business, and I am finally, this is the first month I've actually taken a small wage out of the business for myself. So this is the first month that I've actually been able to pay myself in 2 years since I started this channel. So I am lucky in that my husband has a full-time work and he's able to take care of the bills. Otherwise I would be completely heavily in debt and I don't know what I'd be doing. I honestly wouldn't be able to do this without his support, so I'm incredibly grateful for that. But we also live very frugally. You know, we keep a tight budget, we keep track of everything we spend, and we cut out anything that we can so that we can live just on his wage. Because when you are living on an average wage of one person, you do have to make sacrifices, but we're happy to make those sacrifices to have the lifestyle that we have. Next assumption is you love Scotland more than England. Now, this is asked by Dan, who's been here, who's seen Scotland. He knows that's not an assumption, but that's just a fact. I absolutely love Scotland. I love living in Edinburgh as well. When we traveled the world, we went to every city that we may possibly be interested in living in, and after 2 years we came back and we both said no, we love Edinburgh more than any of those cities. Copenhagen is a close second in that it is beautiful and we love it, and if we had to move elsewhere then Copenhagen would definitely be a very good option for us. However, yeah, Scotland for me matches who I am so well, and yes, I'm Japanese, I was born in Japan, and I love Japan, and even though I had to give up my Japanese nationality to become British, I still feel very, very Japanese. That's never going to go away. However, if I had to pick one nation, one country that I feel I belong to the most, and it kind of like in sync with the energy of the land kind of thing, then it's definitely Scotland. I love the Scottish landscape. It's so strong, yet it's so sad, but it's got so much vibrance and energy, and I love the people. It's great. I love Scotland. I always joke that because I got my first British passport when I moved to Edinburgh, that I am technically Scottish. Well, I'm not, because we're all British, but we'll see. Next assumption is you're an introvert. Absolutely. I took the Myers-Briggs test, the 4 characteristics. I am an INTJ. INTJ? Yes, I am INTJ, but what that test also said was I was 99% introverted, and I'm absolutely introverted. About 2 years ago, I decided to actually embrace my introvertedness. I was doing art sales at parties and stuff, and I was really, really struggling with it and found it super, super stressful because it means dealing with people face to face. And I did that for a year, and it was going fine, but it tired me so much. So I decided to embrace my introvertedness 2 years ago, and the result of that was doing YouTube, because then I can stay at home and talk to the camera, which I can do, and not have to be talking to people face to face. I can talk to people by text, like in comment section and things, but I don't have to deal with people face to face. And for me, it has certainly worked. I am much happier, I love my job, and I'm mentally in a much better place. Now we move on to the Patreon comments. First one is, I think that you're a very emotional person, but that you have built up ways of constructively channeling and tempering them so that they do not overcome you. I'm definitely a very sensitive person. I am empathetic, and also I do appear to get angry easily, but that's just because vocalizing how I'm feeling is how I process things. I'm quite often not as angry as I sound. But one thing I've definitely found is, having gone into super early menopause, I cry at everything now. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. I used to cry in a lot of films, probably more than most people, but now it's like, if there's a even slight emotional bit, whether it's sad or happy or elated, I will start crying. It's weird. Like, I have no control over my eyes and my tear ducts anymore. However, I also try to stay logical in every decision I make, and the proudest thing anyone can say to me is that I'm the most logical person they've ever met, because I try really hard to stay logical and not make emotional decisions. That's what makes me the INTJ rather than the INEJ, I think, is if you are a more emotional person. And I've trained myself to get out of emotional upsets by talking logically to myself, and that has helped me so much in keeping myself calm and for my mental health. Next one is, I think you're a detail-oriented person. I also think that you're someone who is naturally inquisitive and wants to explore every colour to see it for yourself, even if others have reviewed or swatched it before. Absolutely true. I don't like giving colour advice without having seen the colours myself. So you will notice in the colour wheel palette video, I have a huge chunk of recommendation for what colour you should have in each wheel for certain brands. And I've been requested to do other brands, and I've had to refuse to do them purely because I do not want to make recommendation when I haven't seen the colours myself. I think for me to do that would be irresponsible, because you guys are going to be buying a lot of paints based on my recommendation for that colour wheel, and if I haven't seen it and it's wrong, I've wasted your money. And the whole point of me doing this channel is to save you guys money by showing you what each paints are like, and so in enough detail so that you guys can make a informed decision on whether you should buy a certain paint or not. That's why I only put about 4 brands. Those are brands that I know majority of the colours that each brand has, and therefore I know that the colours I've chosen are a good fit for each well. I also feel that now that I have decent income coming into the business, I feel that I have the responsibility to use that capital and use it to buy more watercolors so that you guys get to see more watercolors in detail. That's why I have a hugely large watercolor collection. It's so that I can share with you guys, and so in the hope that it will save you guys money, so that if a color is like really similar to another color that you might already have, then you don't have to buy that color or discover new colors that you wouldn't have, and enjoy those watercolors. Another one is, at first I thought you might be a medical doctor who likes watercolor. Now I think you have a PhD in psychology or some art field. So I have a PhD in human computer science, as we already discussed. Not a medical doctor. I've actually never taken a single class of biology, and in the UK that's really unusual, because in the 3rd year, which I think is now called year 10 in senior school, you are put onto separate sciences class for 1 year, these physics, biology and chemistry classes for 1 year before you choose your GCSEs, so you get to make an informed decision on which sciences you want to go into. However, when those biology classes were going on, I happened to have my extra English class, because I came over with no English. I could say 2 phrases. I could say, hello, my name is Oto Kano and I am 10 years old. That was the only 2 phrases I could say in English when I came over to England. So even through year 10, I still had extra English classes, and the only time that the teacher could do the private lesson was during when I was supposed to have biology classes. So I have zero knowledge on biology. Now, I am married to someone with a degree in marine biology, and it fascinates me how much he knows about biology. I'm like, talk more biology to me, because I know nothing about the subject. So if you're having a heart attack near me, please don't expect me to rescue you, because I don't know how. Another one is, I feel it's safe to assume you do not raise turtles as a side hustle. Just a thought. Is that something you can make money from? I don't know. Is turtle racing a thing? But however, having to spend loads of time with turtles kind of sounds really cool. Next one is, I am wondering why you keep your hair so short. At least you can pull it off. Well, first of all, thank you. And the answer to that is quite long, so I hope you'll settle down. Well, I hope you'll settle down by now, because this is already a very long video. There are several reasons why I keep my hair this short. One is a practical reason, in that I get eczema on the back of my head, and it gets really bad if it gets much longer than this. I also can't put cream on it if it gets much longer than this. So that's one practical reason, but that's kind of like the last reason I derived at. There were definitely loads of other reasons why I choose to have short hair. Because if I wanted long hair, I don't think I would care about the eczema as much. The reason why I like short hair is, I mean, A, it's really practical in that it's so easy to wash, and you rub it with a towel for 5 seconds and it's dry. I love that practicality about it. It might be hard to tell from this, because this is going to be donated soon, but both my husband and I are minimalists at heart. We used to live really extreme minimalism, to the point that all the things we owned could fit into 4 crates, or not the big crates, the little foldable, like not even A3 size crates. However, we've since gathered more things and kind of relaxed a bit, but we still have that minimalist mentality. And when we can make things easier for ourselves by removing it, the hassle of maintenance, then we tend to do it. So I not only keep my hair short for practical reasons that it's really easy to maintain, but it's also because I opted out of dyeing my grey hairs. I have quite a lot of grey hairs by now. However, I made the decision a couple of years ago that I was never going to start dyeing my hair just to cover up the greys. I felt like that is like a lot of work and a obligation just because other people judge me for the amount of grey hairs I have, and I just really didn't like that. I felt beholden to what other people think and what other people expect a woman to be, to hide their grey hair and hide their age. And I didn't want to have to dye my hair every 6 weeks just to satisfy those things. It felt like a lot of work. And the great thing about having my hair this short is that the grey hairs are far less noticeable than they would be if I had longer hair. The other reason why I keep my hair short is I have a really hard time going along with the societal pressure that women have. I just feel really uncomfortable identifying with the society's definition of a feminine woman. And it's not that I don't identify as a woman, it's not that I identify as gender neutral or anything like that. I identify as biologically female. I'm happy being a female, I'm comfortable being a female. I just can't get along on the train of this huge pressure and expectation that women have in society. Like you should have long hair to be feminine, and if you have curly hair you should straighten them, and if you have straight hair you should curl them. And then there's makeup, and now makeup has gone completely crazy. Like when I used to wear makeup, it was just eyeshadow, eyeliner, lipstick, maybe a bit of mascara. Now we have the base, I don't even know the terminology, base layer things, and the highlights and the contouring, and I can't do it. So I don't wear makeup, I don't own any makeup. I actually threw out all my makeup in the New Year's declutter last year, and I feel so much better for it. So I don't wear skirts. I tend to wear more men's clothes than women's clothes just because I'm more comfortable in them. And they're cut in a more comfortable way, and they're easier to maintain clothes rather than fancy clothes that needs to be hand washed. I cannot be doing with that. So yeah, I don't do many of the things that women are expected to do, and I'm incredibly lucky that my husband is very supportive of me not following the societal expectation of a feminine woman. And I feel that he actually likes me more going the way I am, in that I am following what I believe in, and that makes me more confident. So yeah, that's a really long explanation of why I keep my hair short. It really drives my mother crazy as well that I keep my hair short. So I totally understand why people would think that, why do I keep my hair short? But I've had my hair long loads of times. I've also had my hair short loads of times. It's just, yeah. I'll put a picture of me having long hair, and I know somebody's going to comment, oh, but you look so much more prettier and feminine and more womanly, whatever, with long hair. I know. I don't feel comfortable looking that way. I don't feel comfortable going along with those expectations that I should have long hair just to be more feminine or to be more pretty. So yeah, that's the reason why. Wow, this video is getting a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Thank you so much for hanging out all this time. The next assumption is I've always assumed you're super organized. I try. My trick is, as a minimalist, to have as little things as possible. And I don't mean like only own 100 things or just get rid of everything. I don't mean that at all. I mean the minimum amount of stuff I need to do what I want to do, like run this business, have a certain kind of lifestyle. Like, I love crocheting. When I was a child, I really struggled with tidying and organizing. I have ADHD along with my other stuff, and I've read theories about how if you have ADHD, it's incredibly hard for you to tidy up your house because there's just too many processes going on and you can't focus on one thing. I definitely suffered from that, and the only way I managed to get more organized and tidy was to be a minimalist and have the minimum amount of stuff that I needed to function to a level that I want to function, and no more. So for example, all these blankets, I've made them and they're going to be donated to charity soon. I'm just waiting for it to be picked up because I don't need this many blankets. I had the need to create those blankets, but I don't need this many blankets. I just need like a couple at most, one for lap, one on the bed, and that's all I need. So that's what I mean by minimalism. It's not the extreme kind that you see on YouTube. And that has made organizing so much easier because you are never having to deal with a visual clutter, which is what looks disorganized, but also having to deal with emotions like guilt you have for things that maybe you know you shouldn't have, or you shouldn't bought, or it's done, or you bought it but you didn't do anything with it. Those things go out of the house on a frequent basis, and that makes me feel a lot calmer. And when you just have fewer things, then it's going to be easier to organize. Then we have, I assume you love science and art of color more than the fine art of painting. You have such patience with gradually building the knowledge base of colors and how the brands of paint makes a difference. Also, you like teaching others what you know and find out. I would agree with that. I do find the exploration of paint, as I said before, hugely interesting because there's so much creativity in what different brands make of watercolor paints. And yeah, I will put my hand up that I'm way more interested in that than learning to paint. I also don't have much time left over to paint or to learn to paint, which I am struggling with at the moment because I do have a huge urge to paint at the moment, but I am having to spend this month and next month making loads of videos because I'm going to Japan in March and April. And when I go to Japan, I want to be able to focus on spending time with my mum because, as you know, she has cancer. So yeah, this month and next month is just completely chocker with video production to the point that there's incredibly tiny, if at all, time left for painting. As for I like teaching others, I think so. I come from a family of teachers. Both my parents were lecturers and I was a lecturer at university, and teaching, I get a great joy out of taking complex things and figuring out how to say it in an easy to understand way. I also love testing things and experimenting things, and when I first came into watercolor, I felt that there were only minor amounts of experimenting with watercolors going on, and when you go to watercolor forums there were a lot of guesses but not as much tests, and that's when I felt like I could do a YouTube channel testing watercolors and experimenting with them as a niche. And the final one is, I have assumed your house is tidy and you enjoy reading in front of a fire on a chilly day, maybe with hot chocolate. Oh wait, that's me. Just kidding, I assume it's you too. I like to keep my house tidy. Like, this is stressing me at the moment because this to me is visual clutter, and I am looking forward to these going to good homes with a charity. I like to keep visual clutter minimal as possible because I find when there's less visual clutter, it's very, very calming. Whether I can keep my house tidy or not is another matter. Like, there's always something left out that I'm like, oh, I should put that back, and then it stays there for 3 days. That's not a joke, it literally does. I'm staring right now, like, this looks all nice and tidy because I tidied up for the filming. I see 2 boxes I should have dealt with last week. It's now Thursday, so that's my life. I wish I had a log fire, really wish, but we don't. I would love it though. Hot chocolate, absolutely. I love making hot chocolate, but I don't do much reading anymore. This is the thing, since YouTube came along, I'm finding that gathering information through videos is so much easier for me than reading because I have severe dyslexia as well, on top of everything else. I don't want to come across as this ill, sickly person though. These are just conditions that I deal with. And I always found reading books hard anyway, but I enjoyed reading books because I love gathering information. If you know the Kolbe Index test, it's a kind of a personality test that works out how you problem solve. And my profile is a quick start fact finder. I love finding out about facts, and therefore I loved reading books. But I also relied heavily on audiobooks and read out loud functions on Kindles and things because I absorbed information much better hearing. Now that we have videos, and we now have really good quality videos that are really well researched, that I find that is so much more easier than reading books. I don't read as many books as I used to. I used to read loads of books. Now, not so much. So I will be watching video on my laptop in my imaginary ideal log fire with definitely a hot chocolate. Although I have come up with a new drink. I'm sure like other people have as well. I'm not saying I invented it, but a oat milk or milk of your choice, dash of maple syrup, and then my rooibos chai tea bag, or I'm sure a normal chai tea bag will do. Heat it up. It's delicious. Try it. It is so good, and I want to leave you with the deliciousness of that drink. Thank you so much for all your assumptions. Thank you so much for watching this all the way. I hope you enjoyed this different format of not being in the studio. I'm sharing more about myself and what my life is like. If you've enjoyed it, do let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!